Hey guys, welcome back. As the subtitle identifies, we're going to touch on 3 different topics again. I'm going to get into what someone can expect from therapy and what their therapist may be like. I'm going to talk about psychosis and what those symptoms are like. And then I'm going to touch on men's mental health. Have fun, enjoy, give feedback if you want. No, your counselor or your therapist is not trying to tell you how to live. No, your counselor or your therapist is not going to make you do anything you don't want to. Your counselor's not the expert of your life. They don't know you. They don't go home in your skin. They don't know what it's like to be you. They are there to hear you and address the concerns that are being presented. They might throw an idea or two your way, but at the end of the day, they can't make you do anything. You go home and you make your own decisions. I will say that, in my experience, a good clinician will challenge you. They'll get you to think. They'll get you to question and understand your actions, beliefs, thinking patterns, and behavior. Yes, we're there to hear you out. Yes, we're here to empathize with your struggles. Like any profession, there are certain skills and attributes that are going to make this person professional and can be best used to your benefit. At the end of the day, regardless if your counselor challenges you or empathizes with you or whatever technique they use, they're there to help you identify goals, explore unresolved trauma, help strengthen your coping skills, and be there for you however possible to get you to where you want to be in life. Your counselor is going to make you work. It's not just you talk, they listen, and then you go. Counselor's going to question you. Counselor wants to know why this particular thing is a problem and what we can do about it. If we can't do anything about it, then why are we here? Let's back it up a few steps. Before we can say why we're here when addressing the problem, first, we gotta assess what's going on. Then we identify certain key elements of what we think the problem is, and then explore it further. Once we've created a greater awareness and understanding of what we think the issue is, then we can start talking about change. I encourage everyone to do their own homework on how they understand change in human behavior. This is just one of the models that I use, just because it's simple and it's got shapes and it's visually appealing to me. But the idea is this change has a sort of process. It doesn't just happen. And this is what it could look like for folks that are kind of fluctuating in and out of changes that they want to see in their life. Some people are not ready for change. It's hard to acknowledge that we may be flawed. It's hard to acknowledge that we might have made mistakes. It's hard to acknowledge that we're vulnerable. It's also hard to accept that even if we are not at fault and we are damaged by outside means, we are still responsible for healing our wounds. I think anyone that's willing to acknowledge there is a problem but isn't quite sure how to address it is already on the path to success and the change they want to see for themselves. No success is too small, and change doesn't happen overnight. I'm a firm believer that everyone has the strength to figure out their own issues. They just need a little help once in a while. Usually when people talk about hearing voices, they're usually talking about psychosis, specifically hallucinations, whether they're auditory or otherwise. Also, people with psychosis can experience delusions. And again, just like any other mental health symptoms, it's okay to have these symptoms. It's part of who that person is. It doesn't define who they are. I used to do group therapy for older adults with psychosis, and I remember working with a gentleman that would swing his arm in group session. And at the surface, that looks kind of odd. But getting to talk to him and better understand him more, it was his way of coping with the perceived demons and devils that he was fighting off. So instead of challenging his reality, I asked him, was he winning? Turns out he was pretty good with a battle axe. Countries in Europe sometimes describes people with psychosis as voice hearers. Sometimes changing the language creates a different perspective and creates a different relationship with those symptoms. Having said that, not all people with psychosis experience distressful voices. Sometimes it could be radio sounds or just murmuring, and we're not quite sure what's actually being said or heard. Again, it's up to the person to figure out what kind of relationship they want to have with the symptoms they're experiencing and in creating a plan to address that. In an attempt to better empathize with people's experiences with hallucinations, for just one day, I put headphones on and went onto YouTube and listened to hallucinations and audio representation. The next day, I had a headache that lasted for 8 hours. My privilege is I can take the headphones off. People with symptoms of psychosis can't take that off. I'm not saying we need to fully buy into people's experiences with psychosis or hallucinations or delusions. But what we can do better as a society is accept that these symptoms are not easy to cope with, and we need to be more empathetic to that experience. Yeah, we gotta change that. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Men sometimes don't have the best way of regulating their emotions. We suppress it, we sweep it under the rug, we self-medicate it, we go years without addressing it. Call me crazy, but I wonder if that has anything to do with some of the highest statistical numbers on suicide rates in men. Just like we gotta take accountability for our actions and our wounds and addressing them, we also gotta acknowledge that for a lot of men, their cultures, their beliefs, their society, the way they were raised has taught us this is how men deal with stuff. And maybe that isn't the best way to go about it all the time. We need to learn new ways. We gotta do a better job of acknowledging what it means to man up. And I'm here to say manning up means acknowledging when you're in emotional distress instead of suppressing it and never talking about it. What does one of the most decorated Olympic athletes of all time have to do with men's mental health? I'll let you decide that for yourself. Look it up, type up Michael Phelps and his journey through depression and alcohol and substance use. Might learn you a little something about men's mental health. It's okay to not be okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, this is Scott. I'm in LPC in the state of Illinois. Questions, comments, or feedback, I'm open to all of them, and you're all beautiful people in my book. Stay awesome.